like there are examples of it. Like Lawrence Fishburne, right? His daughter is a porn star, and like he just like I think he disowned her. It's very very like rare. Yeah.
Based.
Yeah, is that what you would do if like you got married and your daughter became a porn star against like everything that you told her went against all of your values?
So
you would disown your daughter?
That being a sex worker is going down the wrong path, basically, as college being the right path.
She wants to get a clip.
Would you disown your daughter?
If she was a prostitute, if my daughter was a prostitute.
If your daughter grew up to be a porn star or a prostitute, would you? No, a porn star. If your daughter grew up to be a porn star, would you disown her?
I would.
Yes.
Okay. You would disown your daughter for being a porn star?
Would you disown your daughter for being a porn star?
So when we say disown, though, are we saying like never talk to her again?
Yes. He completely shunned her. He doesn't speak about her. Like when he's been asked in interviews, he's like, he doesn't even talk about her.
So
I would make fuck. Okay, hold on.
Grid One Motorsports donated $100. SW and Pron is the failure of the family and brings shame. Prom has horrible effects on men and their relationships and can and does cause relationship problems, including divorce. Stop it. Get some help. Do better. Be a better human.
Yo, Grid One, thank you, man. Appreciate it. So, to answer your question, first off, I would make as vigorous an attempt as possible, one, to raise her correctly so that she would not even consider that as an option. If she was considering it, I would, again, make as vigorous and strong a case against it as possible. If she got into it, I would continue making as vigorous and strong a case for her to stop. If she continued, then yes, it would be so disappointing to me that I would probably disown my daughter.
That's crazy.
That's
crazy to me, because if you love, that's unconditional love. You have kids, you're supposed to love them unconditionally.
You should always be there for them. Whether if your kids turned to had a drug addiction, right? Would you like? I don't think it would be right to disown your child.
That's nasty personality.
It would sort of be the same thing.
Disgusting.
See,
I mean,
now
sex work
how's
is
the closed-minded one?
Just you said you turn your back on your kids.
It's disgusting to turn your back on it's disgusting for me that you're willing to turn your back on your own offspring. That's disgusting to me. So say whatever you want to be disgusting on
for valid reason. Let me ask you a question. There's no circumstances under which you would not turn on your children or perhaps like your parents? What if they committed some heinous fucking crime?
We're talking about sex
What if
work.
they abused you?
If my parents abused me,
would that be or your
for
children
your own
abused
safety, you would have to separate yourselves from them. But if my parents wanted to come to me and apologize for something like that, and then demonstrated through their actions that they never would do that again,
but you acknowledge.
Then I would never cut them off out of my life.
You do
entirely.
acknowledge there are some circumstances your child could do some act in which you would distance yourself from them or disown them. You acknowledge that, right?
I know, but I'm speaking in the sense of like sex work right now.
Yeah, you said abuse, and we're just talking about sex work.
I don't want to talk
about your daughter becoming a porn star. You would never speak to her again. You would shun her. You would disown her.
That's how thoroughly disappointed I would be in my daughter if she was involved in sex work. Yes.
As her father, I think you're supposed to be there for her even through like the roughest points of her life.
That could
Those are choices. She is making a choice to do that.
And you're making the choice to disown her. And I'm saying I don't think that would be
different.
What is disowning exactly?
Disowning means that
you just no longer
you no longer speak to them. You shun them. You don't.
I want to ask the chat. I'm just curious about the chat. Like, do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Agree with me, disagree? One, if you agree with me. Two, if you disagree with me. I'm just curious because, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would be wrong to disown your daughter if she was...
Is she saying mean things to you, like, constantly? Like, if someone was saying mean
personally,
things to
I would not disown my daughter, but I think you guys are thinking of love and unconditional love as unconditional acceptance of their choices, and that's not the same thing.
We accept that they want to turn around.
I think that change. That's why
but as long as they don't change, there's no.
That's why I did the example of like if your son struggled with like substance abuse, right? Was continually harming themselves by being addicted to like heroin or something like that. I don't think that by you not disowning them is you saying, oh well, I'm happy the fact that you have a substance abuse. I think you're being there to support them as their father.
What you guys are saying is like keep lending them $20 every time they need it. Literally.
Like when does it become enabling at some point? Like to that's...
You see what I mean?
Well said. Enabling.
No,
I don't think like not disowning your child if they do sex work
is
not
disowning. Okay, let's say it's not disowning. It's just cutting ties with. Okay, like the disowning. I don't know to what legal level I don't know. I don't know.
I would say that actually, for example, you see this when it comes to politics. Families like become what's the word for it?
Like splintered over politics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is also a valid reason.
I think that's pathetic, though. I think people who like, if like you are not talking to your parents because they voted for Trump or Biden, I think that's fucking lame.
No, but I'm saying that I actually think that that's perhaps even a lesser thing. Well, I mean, people have different values. I mean, I'm not trying to compare one to the other, but AB check, thank you for the 20, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the
I don't think any
term.
of us would disown a family member over politics.
Like my parents are like liberal.
I know people do that. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's like a stupid thing. I think like if you disown your family over political disagreements, barring like extreme fundamentalist shit, I think you would come to regret that. And like when they die on their deathbed, I think that you'd see like just how stupid and inconsequential it was to like separate yourself from your parents.
It's funny because I hear a lot of kids that are like liberal, progressive, disown their Trump supporter parents.
Yeah, that's cringe. If they're doing that, that's fucked up. That's like so stupid to me.
Did you read that super chat? I just don't know if it's going to turn to TOSE.
Place change and make a job position. I'll get to that. Yeah, I think.
So are you saying progressive kids should accept conservatives older than them, their parents, people around them?
Yeah, I don't think that you should be shunning your parents or family just because they voted for Trump. That's insane.
Thank you.
Or vice versa. If you're a Trump supporting family and you disown your kid because they support Biden, that's insane.
Here, Abby, right? It's Abby?
Abigail, but yeah.
Abigail, if your daughter, you want to have kids, right?
I do.
If your daughter, like, would you disown your daughter?
I couldn't disown my daughter. No. I mean, if my daughter was doing something that I thought was damaging and she kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it, I would realize that the way that I'm going about trying to get her away from that is wrong. I would try to evaluate and determine a better way of going about it. But no, I couldn't just cut ties with my child. Same if like my son was doing something like using drugs or drug dealing, and I thought it was wrong. No matter the amount of disappointment I would feel, that's my son. I cannot turn my back on him.
I think I
will try to keep them from doing it, and if what I'm doing isn't working, like I said, I would change what I'm doing. And if I did have to cut ties, it wouldn't feel good. It's not what I want to do. But like, let's say if my child wanted nothing to do with me because they felt that I was like pushing my beliefs onto them and I was wrong and they wanted nothing to do with me, I would wait for them to come back, and I would pray and I would hope that they would. But no, I would never be the one to cut off ties with my child. I would not disown my child.
I feel like I think you're going to be more willing to more likely to actually entrench the fact that she would be like in that industry if you disown them. I think the thing that would, if you were like really dead set on like getting your daughter out of being like in the sex industry or porn stars, I don't think disowning them at that moment is going to be the thing that makes them like realize like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. If anything, they'll be like, my family fucking abandoned me, fuck them, I'm going to like do this for sure.
Sorry,
I think if you show love and vulnerability and say like, we're here anytime for you, I don't support it.
What does disoning mean actually?
Yeah, I know that's.
We determined cut ties. That's what we said.
Cut ties, shunning, don't speak to them.
Disowning means like you're my mom, and I'm just gonna never talk to you again.
You're
no longer my mom.
Please move the mic over and speak into it.
Sorry. Yeah, like if your mom looked at you and was like, "You're not my daughter anymore. I'm never gonna speak to you again. Don't tell people that you're my child. Like, I'm not gonna speak about you. You basically pretending.
Sign anything.
No, it's not divorce. You just never speak to them again.
You can do that though.
It's possibly.
I think that the kids can.
It's probably easier.
Yeah, you can.
Look,
at 13.
I've already stated that I would attempt to raise her so that just wouldn't even be a possibility to begin with. But of course, despite parents' best efforts, kids still fuck up or they get involved in these things. So whatever, I would try to dissuade her if she was, again, considering going into it. I would try to convince her not to. If she got into it, I would make another good faith effort to stop her from doing it.
Like an intervention.
I would make effort. So it wouldn't just be like an instant drop, immediate disown.
But at some point you would.
Yes, I think eventually, like if I mean, it's depending on what, right? Obviously, there's degrees and severity to it, but if she was a prostitute, for example, I mean, it's going to be very hard for me to.
Well, if she reached out to you again and said, "I've put that behind me. I no longer want to do
there
this,"
can be reconciliation. There can be
if there's
reconciliation.
a possibility for
Too personal, like-
reconciliation, that's not the same
That's
thing
not
as
disowning.
disowning.
This isn't too personal. Are you religious or like a man of God?
I claim to be a man of God. I
You
take
know it
that
says
as you
sin
will.
to
Do you
use
think-
God's name in vain, right?
Like, do you think, and a Christian?
Are you a man
I'm
of God?
assuming?
Go ahead with your.
Like, do you think that Jesus or God would ever instruct like his children to, like, you as a man, turn your back on your child?
I mean, the story of the prodigal son is he comes back and repents, and the father accepts him back, and that's I think what Brian referred to.
Well,
There's
Brian,
still
like,
a possibility.
do you see that
for
as like the Christian thing?
reconciliation.
Like, I don't see that as. I think Christianity is all about forgiveness. I think the whole point is supposed to be that you would never turn your back on your children. Or do you disagree? You think that's like the godly thing to do? I guess.
If they
Well, I
want
can't
to change.
speak for how other people like how
You personally, like how you
me
view your
personally.
relationship
Well,
with Jesus.
I've already told you. I've already told you what my position is on this.
Right.
If after multiple best efforts attempting to get her to not engage in this behavior, I failed, it would be in the same way that like we all choose to be, if somebody is not behaving in a way that we find appropriate, then we are of course within our right to cease being in a relationship with somebody or having a relationship with someone. So if my
But
daughter,
your kids are not just any. That's not
I
just
know,
a relationship.
I
It's a
know.
biological connection.
Yes, I know.
That's why he's
but the
persistent.
the degree of disappointment that I would feel would make it very difficult for me to have a relationship with my daughter.
But
So-
you are saying that that relationship could be rekindled
It
if
could.
she put that
It-
past.
yes.
And that's
If
not
she-
What
disowning.
what if she did it behind your back for years? You somehow never managed to find out that she had been doing
I would thoroughly be-
escorting
I would be
for like
thoroughly
the last
disappointed.
5 years. You'd be thoroughly disappointed,
I'd
but
be
it didn't
thoroughly-
manifest in her actions or behavior because for 5 years she
Wait.
kept it a secret from you that she was escorting. If you found out 5 years later she's been
she-
escorting for the
and she
last 5
stopped.
years.
Okay.
No, she doesn't stop. I'm saying that you find out
This
somehow.
is very specific.
She's
but
been
okay.
escorting for no. I just want to see that because you were
Oh
like,
my God,
no, I like in the first scenario or whatever, you knew the entire time. You're like, I try to stop, I try to intervene, and I'm
Sure.
like, what if she's been doing it for
She-
5
she
years and
kept
you
it
never noticed?
secret.
Yeah, you never knew.
I suppose to some
then once
degree.
you
sure,
find
I
out, would
suppose-
you?
Would I what?
Disown them
her?
for that.
I mean,
5 years.
certainly to some degree, ignorance is bliss in that situation. But would I is she continuing to do the work that she's doing?
Yep.
Again, I would. It wouldn't be an immediate disown, but I would say I did not know this. Let's try to correct what I see as dysfunctional behavior, and I would try to. I
How
would try to
dysfunctional
guide
could
her.
it be if you didn't know for 5 years?
What do you mean?
Because I'm saying for 5 years she kept it
People
a
are
secret
very
from
good.
you. Yeah, but you're saying that like it's dysfunctional.
if somebody if you were in a relationship for 5 years, you had a husband and he was cheating on you for 5 years, but you didn't know about it, that doesn't change the fact that there was infidelity.
I'm not saying it would change the fact that she was an escort. It would make her an escort in the circumstance that you're
So
saying.
you're
I'm not
saying
saying it wouldn't change the fact that he cheated on me.
You're
Right,
saying like
so I
how
would-
can it be dysfunctional if you didn't notice?
Because
the whole
I'm
time?
saying
It's
like,
still
because
dysfunctional
you're-
whether I know it, whether I there can be there's dysfunction in the world, whether I know about it or not doesn't change the fact that it's dysfunctional.
What's dysfunctional about sex work to you?
Really?
Yes, Brian. I
What
don't.
is-
I don't.
We've
It's
been talking
not
about
obvious to me. I disagree with you. I need to know why you think that.
Okay, the damage that okay, first off, sexually transmitted diseases, very high risk of that.
STIs.
Yes,
You guys
And
work
that's
in a legal brothel.
We
They
work
get
at a
tested
legal
more than
brothel,
anyone.
and we get tested once a week
Do you-
on the dot.
Do they test you for herpes?
Everything.
Well, I mean,
No, they
you
don't.
get tested
They
that
don't
much
test you
because
for
you do have
herpes.
a higher
Be
risk.
honest. Do they test you for herpes? Be honest.
Abby.
Why are you turning to her? Do they test you for herpes?
Don't they get a swab every week and they test us for blood?
And they
get our
test you
blood
because
tested?
there's a higher risk.
Do they test you for
everything they need to
herpes?
test us for on the pamphlet.
You don't want to answer because the truth is, in the sex work industry, in the porn industry, they don't test for herpes because if they did, there would be no fucking industry because
In the
everybody in the porn industry fucking will get herpes. We had a girl on the panel 2 weeks ago who has herpes. She's actively working in the sex industry despite the fact that she has herpes. And this is just like an open secret in the porn industry. They check for gonorrhea, they do HIV, they do syphilis, anything that they can check for. I believe they don't check for HPV, they don't check for herpes. If you work in the porn industry, you will get herpes on a long enough timeline. She got it within 6 months of getting it. They don't test for herpes because it would be the fucking end of the porn industry.
Wait, by herpes, do you mean...
Do you have herpes?
No, I don't have herpes.
They don't test for...
The risks
No, I haven't
are
had
so
herpes. I don't have
far
herpes.
beyond
I don't
just
have
getting
herpes.
an STI though. Like,